as we are trying to understand the concept of thinking, as I said, human beings are considered as the rational beings because of the way how we used to think, as well as how we used to react based on the ability of reasoning out. So reasoning and thinking both go hand in hand, which are very helpful for every one of us to take any type of decisions in our lifetime. Either it may be in our personal life, or it may be in the professional or any social life. So it is because of our capacity that how I need to improve myself. So for better thinking, that we are superior to other animals only because of this ability. Even human beings are considered as the wisest animal because of the ability of thinking. That doesn't mean that animals won't think, even they too, but the way how we used to approach to the situations, the way how we used to react to the conditions in which we are all living in, that usually matters. So from that point of view, human beings are considered as the distinguished animals among all the animals in the world. And the way how we used to think, the way how we used to adjust to any type of situation, that definitely play a significant role for the formation of the personality. That too, as far cognitive processes are considered. So in that connection, there is a need of understanding the various aspects of thinking ability. Okay, as for our most of our waking hours, whenever we are working, when as per our day timing is considered, most of the times what we do is we used to think. If you're all listening to the class now, somehow by listening again, you started thinking that when the class is going to be, and or what today teacher will teach, like that. So, and any other connection, we used to have the different forms of ability of thinking. So either it may be in a very good form, or it may be in the negative element. So most of the waking hours that we used to have in our life, and even when we are asleep, or even in dreaming, sometimes we don't know to think. If we have very much tensed elements in front of us, or we are all very much surrounded by any pandemic situation, they are also used to continue the ability of thinking. So what are right now, I think as far as the topic is considered, you started thinking how many slides the teacher is going to show today, what what he is going to teach, what we are going to learn, like that you started teaching, or you started thinking about the condition. So one or another way, in any every walk of our life, we are surrounded by the ability of thinking. So thinking is must. Thinking is very essential. Thinking will help you to take the right decision at the right time. So from that point of view, let's learn what thinking is with the help of some of the definitions which are available now. I would like to discuss the first definition, which is given by Baron. He used to say, thinking is an activity which is concerning number of ideas, symbolic in character, initiated by a problem or a task which the individual is facing. So usually we are surrounded by, we are going to use, or we are going to experience different ideas in our day-to-day life. I think there is a technical issue. Am I visible and audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, as I was talking about the first definition. So thinking is an activity which is consisting of number of ideas, which are symbolic in nature, initiated by a problem. Whenever we used to meet a different issue or a technicality or a situation, we used to start that what is thinking or how thinking used to work. See, right now, I got disturbed by some technical issue, that I got a call and immediately the online class was got disturbed. So again, you started thinking that what happened to the class, like that, isn't it? So it is concerning of number of ideas, okay, which are initiated by a particular problem or issue which the individual is facing. So thinking may not expressed by every one of us in the same way. Every one of us are unique. The way how I used to think, the way how you used to think is not going to remain same. So the thinking ability usually involves the trial and error, but under the directing influence of that problem, and ultimately leading to a conclusion or a solution of a problem. So when I started the class today, as the screen was not sharing, some of you were noticed and you sent message, but I have not seen, but ultimately you stopped me, sir, the screen is not visible. So there, what you thought, I thought that yes, the screen is not visible. Again, I just share the screen. So the way in this connection, if you have not intimated me, I could have completed, I could have completed my class without showing the screen or without showing the slides that I have prepared as per the topic is considered. What you see in that connection, again, your ability of thinking will be in a different dimensions. Maybe sir has not prepared the PT or something like that. So for every reason, for every condition, we usually start thinking ability. And thinking, without thinking, we cannot lead the life systematically. So individually thinking influences all on every one of us, which may be involving the trial and error method, like as in learning situation you have studied the theory of Thorndike, but even under the direct influence of the problem that we are actually facing, and ultimately as to come out with the proper solution to the problem that we are facing, isn't it? So to get a solution, we used to start thinking towards the condition of the problem that we are actually meeting. So to get a solution to a problem, the ability of thinking is essential. To lead the life, the ability of thinking is essential. To face the life as it is, okay, and to adjust ourselves to the life as how it expects us to behave. So what all we needed is the ability of thinking. So in all these dimensions, we can say that thinking is very, very essential. One more definition which is given by Vinayak related to thinking ability is, it is the thinking is the organization and reorganization of current learning in the present circumstances with the help of learning and past experiences. It is very simple to understand what thinking is. It is nothing but organization of what we are today and reorganization of what we have learned in the past. So the past learned experiences and the present situation, both are adjusted to the condition in which we are all living in. How far the experience of my past is going to helpful for my present life. So like that, if there is an adjustment, that is known as ability of thinking. Thinking is the organization as well as the reorganization of the current learning situation in the present circumstances with the help of learning present as well as the past experiences. ಭೂತಕಾಲದ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯ ಭೂತಕಾಲದ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಳೆದು ಹೋದ ಅವಧಿಯ ಅನುಭವಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದ ಅನುಭವಗಳು ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ಸಂದರ್ಭವನ್ನು ಎದುರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳನ್ನ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗೆ ಒಳಪಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ. Mayer also defined thinking in a very simple form as thinking is the perceptual relationship. It is related to perception. Okay. So what is perception? It is the ability that we are going to receive with the help of some of the sensory organs, isn't it? So through the help of sensory organs, whatever the information is received, it is coded, it is understood in our own form. So thinking is the perceptual relationship which provides for the solution of the problem. We used to get a solution to the problem where we are going to learn lot many things through the help of through the ability of thinking. Now let us talk about some of the nature of thinking. How far the characteristics of thinking are helpful for us to understand in the process of what I can say the ability of the nature of thinking. First point which we need us to say that what thinking is, it is essentially known as one of the cognitive theory. So somewhat it is not related to the physiological condition, but somewhat it is purely based on the ability of thinking, that is the cognitive activity. It is always directed to achieve some end or purpose. When we start thinking, we used to do that only because for getting a solution to the problem. As to meet a goal or a purpose in our life, we must need the ability of thinking. It is described as a problem-solving behavior in our personality. As to get a solution to a problem, we need to start thinking ability. That is what it is known as a problem-solving behavior. ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗೆ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಕಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ವರ್ತನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾದದ್ದಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅಥವಾ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅಥವಾ ಚಿಂತನೆ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. It is definitely called as a symbolic activity because ultimately through the process of ability of thinking, we will come to know some of the conclusions, and based on that we will take some decisions. So though directly it will not present in every one of us, but symbolically it acts like anything which will helpful for us to take right decisions at the right time. So that is what it is known as a symbolic activity. And even it is known as mental exploration instead of motor exploration. So there is no connection of physiological activities in this ability. So it is purely a cognitive, or it is purely a mental exploration. So if you are planning some activities today, before implementation of those activities, you should have to think, you should have to reason out, you should have to organize. So what are the things that I need to do? Like that, mental exploration needed to be followed under the process of ability of thinking. It can shift very rapidly. So we will not continuously think over a particular subject only. So there are frequent changes which used to take place in the ability of thinking. You may think for a while about the President of India. You may think for a while about World Cricket Championship. You may think for a while about French Open. You may think about the Indian politics, Karnataka politics. You may think about the lockdown. You may think about unlock 1, 2, 3. Okay, you may think about online classes, you may think about offline classes, you may think about the test, you may think about the regular college, like that. So for a moment, every moment we used to be surrounded by different abilities. So they used to change rapidly, quickly. It is purely known as an internal activity which cannot be identified by external element. So what I am actually thinking at the time of teaching also, that is purely known by me, okay, not by you people. You may listen to the words that I am explaining, but you cannot think that what actually I am thinking. So that is what it is known as an internal activity. So these points will help us know that how important thinking is. Now, let us shift to the next element of understanding the concept of thinking by understanding its types. So types of thinking, again, one of the important elements that you must need to understand. So as per the nature and the characteristics of ability of thinking is considered, we can see 6 important types in the ability of thinking, you can say. So what they are and how important they are, let's study. The first one is perceptual or concrete thinking, it is known as. The second one is conceptual or abstract thinking. Third one is creative thinking. Fourth one is logical thinking, or it can be called as reasoning. Fifth one is problem solving. And the last one is convergent or divergent thinking. These are the different forms or types of thinking abilities that we used to have. Let's see what they are and how important they are one by one. The first one is perceptual or concrete thinking. What is perceptual? As in the previous discussions, we came to know that what is perception. So perception is the process of interpretation of sensation according to one's experience. Okay. So how do I receive the information through the help of my 5 sensory organs, and how do I interpret the received information? That information, that experience is to be known as perception of everyone will not remain same. It may change. In such conditions, usually what happens is, one or another way, the concept of ability of thinking used to motivate us for different circumstances. Either it may be in a positive way or it may be in a negative form. It is also called with another name called concrete thinking. It is because as it is carried over the perception of actual or concrete events. Okay. The other name for perceptual thinking is concrete thinking, because it is usually carried over the ability of perception of actual, of concrete or the events. It is known as one-dimensional or literal thinking, which has limited use of metaphors without understanding nuances of meaning. It is only the basic process, basic type of thinking. It is not the complete ability in the process of thinking ability, I can say, which will give you the only one-sided information, which will not give you the complete information about what you are thinking. So immediately, whatever through the help of sensory organs you used to get, that will enable you to think towards the subject. That is what perceptual or concrete thinking, which is not the clear ability of thinking, you can say. Being the simplest form of thinking, small children are mostly benefited by this type of thinking. Usually you can see these type of abilities, this type of thinking among the small children. They never used to think thoroughly. Second one is conceptual or abstract thinking. Conceptual. So as the name itself indicates, it is a part of thinking, or it is a hidden ability of thinking, which will help you to understand the events as well as the objects in a very detailed form. It does not require the perception of observed objects or events. It is also called as abstract thinking, as it makes use of the concepts or abstract ideas. Whatever the hidden thoughts or the ideas we have in a particular subject or a situation, those are all to be understood with the help of this ability. That is what conceptual or abstract type of thinking we can say. It is superior to perceptual thinking because it economizes the efforts in understanding as well as helps in discovery as well as the invention. In perceptual thinking, we'll get the basic information, whereas conceptual or abstract thinking will enable everyone to get the complete information based on the sensory organs of the perception. That is what it is known as superior to perceptual, or what I can say the perceptual what it is known as the first one, the other name concrete. Yes, perceptual or concrete thinking, whereas conceptual or abstract thinking is to be known as superior to the previous one. Okay, it is the ability to appreciate nuances of meaning. Definitely this opportunity is not there in the previous one. Perceptual thinking, only initiation information is to be received, but there is no opportunity for anybody to think over the nuances of meaning. What are the other reasons? What are the other ways of understanding the concept? Like that, there were no opportunities. But here in conceptual or abstract thinking, every information is to be studied, or it is explained, or it is understood, better understood through the help of all its dimensions, so that there will be a clarity, more clarity comparing to the perceptual type of thinking. It is multi-dimensional thinking. It is not single dimensional. It is multi-dimensional thinking with the ability to use different type of metaphors and hypotheses appropriately according to the condition in which we are all actually living in. And in this type of thinking, language definitely play an important role, because without language, either it may be in the form of listening, with the help of reading, with the help of writing, with the help of any other forms that we are using for the development of language, that will not take place. So conceptual or abstract thinking will definitely encourage us, and there is a wide scope for understanding any type of language in the process of thinking, I can say. Who is this Spurti? See, I will remove some people because you people are not. So the third category is known as creative thinking. What it is? It is a form of thinking which is very unique, which is usually used by the very creative people who are very good at intellectual ability. It refers to the ability for original thinking. It is not the copy from somebody's ideas. It is the way how an independent individual used to think. So every one of us have our own ability of thinking. So if I am following the ability of thinking with my own ideas, original ideas, to create something or to discover something, then it is to be known as creative thinking. All the scientists or the discoverers are the best example for creative thinking people. So it is the ability to integrate various elements of the situation into a harmonious whole, or to create something novel. So this type of ability or this type of thinking is usually followed by for the purpose of integration of various elements that we used to have in our day-to-day life to create something novel. ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಸೃಜನಾತ್ಮಕ ಚಿಂತನೆಯನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ತೀವಿ. In other words, cognitive activity directed towards some creative works refers to creative thinking. So in one or another form, even the ability of creative thinking, what we are talking about, it is known as a cognitive activity. So all the cognitive activities that we used to start analyzing the situation in which we are all actually living in. So that cognitive activity is usually directed towards some creative, which is a part of creative thinking. If you are when doing some normal work, if you start doing the same work in a very creative form, then it is known as the best example for creative thinking. So creative thinkers are the great boons to the society as they enrich the knowledge of mankind. These people are very needed in every walk of our life. Either it may be in the medical line, it may be in the other professionals. So everywhere creative people's talents or their skills are highly appreciated. So they are the main source for the development of mankind, we can say. Okay. Next is the creative thinker tries to achieve something new, to produce something original and something unique in their life. If suppose if it is not done, definitely we need to think over this particular form of abilities. Try to develop these type of abilities in your personality so that you may contribute yourself, you may contribute to the society, and even you may contribute something new, which will be considered for an identification of your personality. So be a creative thinker always. Always think in a very innovative form. Okay. Try always the innovative elements works. The fourth type of thinking is logical thinking, or it can be called as reasoning. It is the cognitive process of looking for reasons for beliefs, conclusions, actions, and feelings. So it is one of the important element again, which is required for every one of us to take a firm decision. Logical thinking, which is right, which is wrong, what is the correct formula, what is not the correct formula, in what way I should have to select if there are two alternatives. So logically thinking is very essential for even every one of us. When you are writing an examination, out of available choices you will select few. So while selecting few, you should be very thought provoking, that you should have to use the logical thinking, or you will reason out which answer I may write correctly, or which are the known facts that I can write in the examination. So the cognitive processes involves these elements in the form of logical thinking. It is the process of drawing conclusions based on evidences. Based on the available evidences, we need to come to a conclusion. So from that point of view, the logical thinking or reasoning is very essential. Next is, it is the form of controlled thinking. Logical thinking or reasoning is considered as a controlled form of thinking, which is in our own control. It cannot move like other type of control, other type of thinking, in which it is known as controlled thinking because the thought process that we used to have, they are directed consciously towards the solution of a problem. They will help us to get a solution towards the problem that we are actually meeting in. So in that connection, logical thinking or reasoning is very essential. Reasoning is the highest form of thinking to find out the causes as well as the predict effects. It is known as highest form of thinking because it will help you to take firm decisions about any situation that you are actually experiencing, and even you will get a solution to the problem or aspects that you are actually facing. An individual tries to solve a problem by incorporating two or more aspects of his past experiences. So whatever we used to have in our life in the form of experiences, they are usually known to get a solution through the help of two or more type of issues that we already had. Next, as per the development of reasoning out or logical thinking is considered, it can be considered in three important elements. One is inductive thinking, second one is deductive thinking, and the last one is abductive thinking. What they are? Inductive thinking means where we start reasoning from the parts to whole, means examples to the definition. For example, to generalization, we will start, if we start to study what is noun, we will say the noun, name of the person, place, thing or animal, then we will come to a definition called noun. So examples to generalization. Okay, that is what parts to whole, that is what inductive reasoning. It is carried out generally within the field known as informal logical critical thinking. And deductive thinking is quite opposite to the inductive one, which moves from whole to part. What is noun? Definition will give. Next, we will say about some of the examples. Deductive. Examples to generalization is inductive. Introducing induction. Deduction means coming from the whole to different parts. Generalization to examples. So that is what deductive reasoning. And abductive reasoning is, it is the cognitive process, often involves both sometime inductive as well as deductive arguments. So this is what how reasoning ability is classified. And the fifth one is getting a solution to a problem. The fifth type of thinking is problem solving, which is required every one of us in every walk of life. Whenever we should have a problem, it should have to be solved. If not, it is very difficult. So from that point of view, we must require the ability of thinking, we can say. It is a tool, it is considered as a skill, and it is considered as a process. So without problem solving, we cannot get anything and everything in our life. It is a tool because it can help you to solve a problem immediately so that you can get a right type of solution. If not, it is considered as a skill because It is a skill because once you have learned it, you can use it repeatedly. Once you come to know how to join to the class online, you can immediately every day you will follow the same. So getting a solution, it is known as a skill. It is also considered as a process because it involves taking number of different steps as per the actual formalities are considered. So you can engage in any problem solving if you want to reach a goal or experience obstacles on the way. So it is considered as a tool, sometimes it is considered as a skill, and even it is considered as a process. At the point at which you come up against a barrier, you can engage is in a problem solving process to help you achieve your goal. So you can achieve the goals in our life only based on the ability of problem solving. And every time you use the problem solving process, you are increasing your problem solving skill. So the previous element will help you to get right type of solutions. So we have these type of what I can say steps in problem solving. You should have to identify the problem first. Next is identification. After identification of the problem, we need to explore the problem, set the goals, look for the alternatives which are available. Next, select the possible solution and implement the same solution finally we are going to evaluate. So these are the 6-7 steps which we require in problem solving methodology. And the last type of thinking ability is convergent thinking. Okay, so what it is? Convergent versus divergent thinking. Both are required for every one of us. Depending upon situation, we can take them. So convergent thinking is a cognitive processing of information around a common point, an attempt to bring thoughts from different direction to a union. So converting and convergent. So receiving the information from all the direction and we will finally take one decision. That is what convergent type of thinking versus divergent thinking. It is quite opposite to the convergent. Divergent thinking means starts a common point. Say for example, unit called thinking. Then what are the types? What are the levels? What are the definitions like that? Okay. Convergent means after receiving all those information, we will come to a union of a particular subject. Whereas divergent thinking starts from a common point and moves outward into a variety of perspectives. Say for example, teachers use the content as a vehicle to prompt diverse or unique thinking among the students rather than a common view. So these are some of the elements which comes under thinking ability. Once again, I would like to discuss the types of thinking: perceptual or concrete thinking, conceptual thinking, creative thinking, logical thinking, okay, problem solving, and finally convergent versus divergent thinking. These are the types of thinking. Thank you.